Special thanks to all our patrons who support the show every single week. Patrons, you keep the Run, Eat, Drink podcast going, and we're so grateful for all the support you give and the community that you've helped us to build. Not a patron yet? Join us today. Head over to patreon.com/runeatdrinkpodcast or buymeacoffee.com/runeatdrinkpod and subscribe for bonus content, social media shoutouts, and much more. Help support our show by using our Amazon affiliate link anytime you shop on Amazon for running gear, food, beverages, or anything else the little gray trucks might bring your way. Just use runeatdrink.net/Amazon anytime you shop. There's no additional cost. It's just one bonus click to help us keep the lights on and the bandwidth flowing. Go to runeatdrink.net/Amazon. And we thank you for your support.
Hi, I'm Chris Twiggs, Chief Training Officer for Galloway Training, and you're listening to the Run, Eat, Drink podcast.
Welcome to the Run, Eat, Drink podcast. We feature destination races from across the country. And after the race, we take you on a tour of the best local food and beverage to celebrate. So whether you are an elite runner or a back of the packer like us, you'll know the best places to accomplish, explore, and indulge on your next runcation. Dana, on today's episode, we welcome back a friend of the show, our coach, America's coach, Olympian Jeff Galloway. Welcome to our show. Thanks for coming back on, Jeff.
Well, Amy and Dana, I am very pleased to be part of the show. Let's get on with the show.
We ought to give you credit for the show because without you, without your training program, there would never have been a show.
No.
Or it would have been a very different show where we talk about the mistakes we've made, all the blunders we've made in training for running.
For sure.
Let me just editorialize here and say that there are a lot of podcasts that get into that theme of all the mistakes that I've made. Unfortunately, I hear the results of people who are listening to those podcasts and don't get any ways of getting out of the mistakes. What we're about is to give people solutions, proven solutions, and I'm proud to be part of that team.
You have customized coaching with Coach Twiggs. You have coaching, and I have been privileged to be a part of that, and you have helped me cross many a finish line in the upright position and without puking also.
Which is a big...
Yes, we are against it. I've heard you in several talks at Walt Disney World as you are their official training consultant, talking about how you are against it, how to avoid it. And I think people should take your advice on that and many other running related topics.
Yeah, and that's another problem that runners can have that is usually avoidable.
Now, we got you on the show. What all have you been up to since you were last on the show? You've been a busy guy.
Yeah, a lot of projects going on here. And basically, I'm so pleased that my son Weston has taken the reins and CEO of Galloway Productions, and he's doing a great job. He has produced one app and now is producing a second app that's going to be more inclusive about programs and things that people are looking at, including corporate programs and so forth. So it's a series of big leaps, which means that I have the ability to keep my brain operating as he feeds things to me and gives me assignments to do. And I'm very pleased about that. But it's a very important time in running because there's so much misinformation out there. And our goal, as is your goal in the podcast, is to give people information that works. And we know it works for hundreds of thousands of people that we've heard from and tabulated and then put in our database on the various things. To be specific about things, I am doing my regular exercise every day, which includes getting at least 15,000 steps a day. I am also involved in some writing projects. I am working every week on a book called Cardiac Comeback that tells about my story in making that comeback after heart failure and a heart attack. We have a number of retreats that have started back again that we do on the panhandle of Florida, and there'll be one each year out in Lake Tahoe. And these are just wonderful times. They're so upbeat. People get so motivated by these, and it's a wonderful life. Most important in my life is my family. My wonderful wife, Barbara, we will be celebrating our 50th next year. My wonderful children and grandchildren. It's just a great time in life for all these neat things that are going on.
You have the love and the support of your family while supporting the corporate world, individual runners, and people who have had health-related challenges. You have come back from a heart-related challenge. How are you feeling?
I feel good practically every day. I was talking to somebody earlier this week, and they asked the same question. My comeback from my gut and my heart is that generally in life, I feel as good as I've ever felt. Now, like before my heart attack, there are days when I'm tired, other days I feel really exuberant all day long. I love the opportunity to tell people how to get through these challenges as I've gone through them. The greatest challenge now that I face is when I run, which is either every second or third day. Running is tough. There's damage from the Agent Orange that will never be taken away. It doesn't allow my heart to pump adequate enough for me to run the way I'd like to run. But that's okay, I can run. Even very short running segments, even when I was only running 3 seconds at a time when I first started running back after my heart attack, I was still getting all the mental benefits that I received from doing whatever I used to do. And that has remained true to this day. So the running enhances the mental effects of exercise. But I'm truly discovering the benefits of walking and being able to keep you from getting too tired, to avoid injuries and exhaustion, and life is good.
What's your current run-walk ratio?
It varies from day to day. One of the things about my situation, because of the lack of blood flow that comes out of the heart, is that if I push too hard due to certain medications that I'm on to keep me from overdoing it, I will get a little dizzy. So I have to monitor my run, walk, run based on a dizziness that comes on. What it usually means is I will start out at 5 to 7 seconds of running and about 15 seconds of walking. And I can get up to as much as 15, which is actually what I was doing before my heart attack. If that's not working, which it often isn't, then I find a lower amount. And I can always find a lower amount. So it's really been a great challenge to allow me to advise others who are going through similar situations. You have to realize that heart disease is the #1 killer in our country, and it's way ahead of second place. And a lot of people don't know they have it, but once they're diagnosed or they've had a heart attack, most people give up on exercise, even though they know that it probably would be good for them, but they don't have a clue as to what they need to do. So the book is going to be about giving suggestions. And one of the ones at the top of the list is listen to your doctor.
Listen to your doctor.
I'm not
Number
going
one.
to tell you, I'm not going to tell you what your medical situation is. I'm going to tell you that if your doctor gives you the okay, what has worked for a lot of people in that situation.
I love the fact that you embrace, I mean, you really have done this your entire life, at least your running life that I'm aware of. You embrace the things that have happened to you and you incorporate them, and you're so open and willing to talk about it. A lot of people wouldn't be that open, and not just talk about it like behind a paywall. You'll talk about it anywhere, and it's because you want people to listen and hear the message. And when you mentioned heart disease is a leading cause of death, I just did a quick Google search. It says about 695,000 deaths annually, or 1 in every 5 deaths. Wow. In the U.S.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's a huge number. Now, fortunately, that number has gone down over the years. It used to be much greater than that. But the bottom line is exercise has been the primary reason, along with medications, that have allowed for this decline to happen.
Yeah, and that is something that you couldn't have imagined, let's say, when you started your running journey. The medical advances are absolutely incredible, and they're growing exponentially. They're so much better in a quicker amount of time now. We're starting to see that. And when you talked about your heart attack here on the show, and you talked about the fact that the extent of the blockage and what they had to do, and that how they had to work you on the table, it's amazing to think how far we've come, and we're so grateful to be able to have you on the show. And that's a testament to medicine. It's also a testament to your level of fitness. There's
15 years ago, I would not have survived. They didn't have the technology. They didn't have the type of defibrillation that I now have on my chest, my ambulance in the chest that really regulates things quite well. And we do have that and space age stuff. It's really exciting what they're doing with heart issues. And it gives people a chance for not just life after a heart attack, but quality of life after a heart attack.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And speaking of quality of life after your heart-related incident, you have a high quality of life such that you have a big birthday coming up on July 12th. How old will you be?
80 years old, 8 decades.
8 decades.
That's a great milestone.
And how are you planning to celebrate that birthday?
As always, the most important person in my life is Barb. So Barb and I will have a series of things that we're working on right now. It's not going to be I'm not a big one on birthday parties, and I never have been. So we're not inviting a lot of people over or anything. It's really about family. And so Barb and I are working on our special ingredients for that, and it's going to be a wonderful day.
And I think we've heard about some plans at the Honolulu Marathon as maybe a delayed celebration. Can you talk about that?
Oh, yeah. That, as a matter of fact, Barb says when anybody asks, aren't you going to have a big birthday party? And she says, it's going to be in Honolulu. And there are a lot of reasons for this. And it's really not based on the fact that I actually won the Honolulu Marathon in 1974, second year. And in the process, it's the only time that I beat my friend Frank Shorter and my Olympic teammate Kenny Moore. They were ones who finished first and fourth in my Olympics, the Munich Olympics. It was really primarily based on the fact that weekend when we're going to be in Honolulu is the 50th anniversary of when Barb and I got engaged there in Honolulu. There's a lot of other things about Honolulu that were very significant in my life. It was the site of my second tour of duty in the Navy. My first tour was as off Vietnam for 18 months, 12 of which were in the combat zone. But the bottom line in my second tour is that I was assigned to a ship that was originally designed to go into Hanoi Harbor and sweep mines out of there. I wasn't really looking forward to that assignment, but when I reported to the ship, it was in the shipyards and they were having a series of problems that never went away during the time period I was assigned there. So what that meant was, for the first time in a year and a half, I was able to get back into regular running. And I did. And when I arrived there, I knew I wanted to recreational run for the rest of my life, but I had no idea that I might want to really do the gut-wrenching stuff you have to do to train for the Olympics in 2 years, a little over 2 years. And I just pieced it day by day and developed an appreciation for so much joy that you get from every run if you do it the right way. And I found my fitness coming back much quickly than I thought. And within 6 months, I was in the same shape that I had been before I joined the Navy, and actually set a record on one of the courses out there that still stands to this day. We're talking about from the 60s to now. Now, there's a caveat on that. After about 20 years of running that race, they turned the course around, and they don't run the course the way I ran it and set the record. So my record will probably stand forever.
Well, isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
There you go. You could be a record holder and also an Olympian. And it's amazing that you mentioned all of those reasons why you chose the Honolulu Marathon.
It's not a bad place to go for a running event either. It's really, it creates the whole friendly atmosphere of coming together. And I'm very excited about the whole weekend. And my running part is going to be minimal because my main goal is to cross that finish line. That's it. That is the goal for me. And the main reason for that is that I've got a chance to set what could be a world record. And that is the very first person to have run a marathon in 8 decades of life. And it's all about staying in the game.
Staying active.
I'm working now during my long training runs, which are up to 13 miles now, in what strategy of running and walking I'll be using. And it's going to be mostly walking rather. And because it's going to be hot and humid there, I have run that marathon 5 or 6 times, and I know what it's going to be like. But I know that with walking, I've got complete control over that whole heat aspect of it. But it's a wonderful return to doing a marathon, and that will be 5 years after I ran my last one. But it will be my marathon for the 80-year-old bracket.
Wow.
That's fantastic.
I tell you what, and you know what? Honolulu, I was browsing around their website. There's no time limit. They're going to sweep you off the course kind of thing.
That's right. That's exactly right. And tell you the truth, I do not believe that I will be able to stay at 16 minutes per mile. In the Disney races, I would get swept. My heart just won't put out. And on the other hand, I know that if I try to challenge myself to run faster, I could induce rhythm problems that could compromise or kill me. And so I'm not going to push myself to limits. That's just something I don't do anymore.
You should avoid that.
Let's not.
Yeah.
Yes.
Much like puking on the race course, dying on the race course.
We
also
are against that. 100%.
A little bit worse, yes.
Yes, 100%. But I think it was stars have aligned so much for this to be the perfect event for you to set a world record and not have to worry about pacers or maintaining that kind of 16-minute per mile pace or any minute per mile pace. And so that's got to be mentally, that's got to be a positive thing for you not to have that pressure. Do you put that pressure on yourself?
I do now that I've had the cardiac issue, because the fact is that it's intensity on endurance events that can cause the catastrophic issues.
Yeah.
That intensity is gone. And so my plan is to run a little bit every quarter of a mile. I'm going to run a little bit every quarter of a mile throughout the 26 miles, and I'm going to tell stories in between. And I've already got a long list of stories. Anybody who's willing to listen can come along.
How wonderful would that be?
Yeah, really. And I think that this would be a great marathon for somebody who maybe is doing the marathon for the first time. I could be wrong. What are your thoughts on that, Jeff? Is this a good one for a first
The
timer?
only caveat there is the weather issue, because recently I've done a little survey on it, and recently the temperature has gone up into the 80s, and the humidity has been quite high also. So for a beginner to get into those situations, you just have to find people that have had enough training in those conditions and have been able to not have problems with heat issues. Particularly troubling would be people entering from cold weather climates, like up in northern Europe, northern Canada, even going down into New England and areas like that, because it starts to get cool normally up there in those areas in September, October. I know that in Alaska, they get their first snowfall in late August or early September, and they have a lot of cold weather before December. So that's the main caveat there, heat. If you can handle that heat and be willing to slow down and or walk or sit down, if you start to overheat and cool yourself off, then that would be a good one for first timers.
So it's the heat. It's not necessarily a time limit, because that is of no consequence here in this particular race. It's just the heat challenge.
Any other aspects of this race that runners might want to train for, prepare for? What's the terrain like? What's the course like? Is it something they should be concerned with?
It has a fairly long hill, about 2.5, 3 miles into it, which is Diamond Head. You don't run to the top of the crater, but you run alongside, and it is a significant climb that is the better part of 1 mile up. It just keeps going up. It's not a steep hill, but it's a long one. Now, then you get out into basically a rolling situation with no real serious uphills like that, but you do have ups and downs. It is not a flat course. And you particularly notice that on the way back after you've made your turn, and you realize that it's getting warmer, it's very humid, and you have some uphills. And the uphills are very noticeable at that point. But the reward is at the end when you get that downhill. And I had a really good experience as a result of that. In 1975, I was trying to qualify to get expenses paid to the Olympic trials in 76. And I got to the 25-mile mark in that race with 6 minutes left to qualify. That meant that I had to run 5 minutes average for 1.2 miles to the finish when it was hot and humid and I was very tired. But I had that downhill coming down Diamond Head, and I just gave it everything I had left and tried to keep those legs on moving and let gravity pull me down. And I got to the finish, and it was 30 minutes later after I finished, they came over to me and said, "Do you want to know your time?" And I said, "You're darn right I do." I had to run under 220, and it was 2:19:59.8.
Wow.
But I qualified.
Oh my.
It's a squeaker, but hey, qualified's qualified. That's
Yeah.
Turn
fantastic.
right.
So the downhill definitely helped you on that one.
Yes. It's downhill for about 8.5 tenths, and then it's flat into Capilano Park.
And there are what I like about their website is they have like a Google Earth YouTube recording of the course. So you can see what parts are by the water. You can see what parts are maybe and you get to see where the elevation is too. So I really like that. And
They do a good job.
yeah, and they do a good job. And if you don't want to do the full marathon, what I like is on the Saturday, they have that 1 mile. And then they also on Sunday have that 10K, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Sure do.
So I think it's perfect.
You don't have to go out and do the full marathon.
But when I got the email about you planning this whole event, with Triumph Sports Travel, partnering with them, it's 5 nights it's a trip that you can take with Jeff Galloway. 5 nights at the Hilton Hawaiian Village, a welcome reception to meet fellow runners, a pre-race dinner and a post-race celebration, a cultural activity in the spirit of aloha, race day support and a bagged breakfast for runners. Yeah. Escort to cheer zones for family and non-runners, a complimentary 20-week Galloway training program, and optional add-ons as you've got a master class.
Yeah, going to have a master class there, and it's very similar to the trip that I helped out with going to Greece, in which all the people in the group stayed at the same hotel. Going to a race weekend is somewhat disjointed because people are staying in different places, and you don't have that opportunity to be having coffee in the restaurant down there and have somebody come up, say, let's chat, which I am really looking forward to doing.
Yeah.
This is not going to be 1,000 people. It's going to be very manageable group, and we are really looking forward to having people come from various decades of my 8 decades. I already know that we have most of those decades represented. And it's really going to be a fun time and a reunion time and a chance for everybody to meet new friends. If you have not been to a situation where Galloway folks are, then you don't know the energy that is generated by that. The folks at Run Disney say that our booth is the most popular booth, and it's not because of me. People come by to ask questions, but it's such an energy source for all of our good people to come together. They talk to one another. They're sharing experiences. There's energy. There's huge energy. Same as happens at all of our retreats, and I'm looking forward to that weekend a lot.
The nicest people you'll ever meet are run walkers that do the Galloway program.
And they're really good folks.
And I will say this, there are 2 lines at any Run Disney Expo. There's 2. One is for the KT tape.
That's true.
And the other one is for Jeff. And that's the only time lines form at the booths.
Yeah.
And we will never try to compete with the KT tape. They do what they do.
But now, speaking of Disney and Run Disney, it sounds like you are right it happens in the second week in December, 10th through the 15th. So that's perfectly aligned for the last long Dopey run. So you're doing something special with that too.
It is perfectly aligned, and we have that set up in the schedule so that even if you're not doing Dopey, you could also just do the marathon. How often do you say just do the marathon?
Just.
Disney in January, a lot of people are saying that, but the fact is that this could be a training run because you've got all the time in the world that you need to finish Honolulu. And therefore, you've already prepared yourself.
Yeah.
And there's so many other things that we're going to be doing walking wise
Mm.
that you can very easily get in a long weekend, that weekend in Honolulu, and
Yeah.
see a lot of amazing places.
You've also got enough time to get
Yeah.
back to the mainland and recover from that jet lag that you're going to.
Ooh.
Good
My.
one stated, Dana, because
Yeah.
that's really another key element to dopey training or any time when you're running a marathon and then trying to recover before the next one. Good point.
Yeah. So you've done this race weekend several times, and you know that our show is about the running, but also about the
Food and beverage.
exploring and indulging local food and beverage. Are people going to be able to get their carb loading pre-race meal in?
Oh my gosh, yeah. There are so many great places to eat there. The only caution there is you really need to make sure that the day before, at least, if not 36 hours before, you're not consuming something that's radically different from what you have had before. It's best to experiment after the race and not before. Although 2-3 days before is usually okay. Just use your best judgment.
So if you've never had Loco Moco
Or poi, probably wait till after the run.
Yeah. Honestly, I've tried poi a number of times. It's not my favorite, but
really?
some people really like it. And of course, it depends on how it's prepared.
Mm. And then you could get there's a spam like sushi.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's spam everywhere. There.
That's true. That's true.
That's correct.
So you could get some protein in that way but it's such a great lesson. Just nothing new in the run up to.
And we've learned that lesson the hard way.
Race day
So Jeff's, you're 100% correct on that one.
Don't.
So at this race weekend, what's the post-race party situation like there? Do they have a runner's village? How does it shake out?
I don't know the specs on that. My team has been organizing that. I know that Sherry Whitt, Sherry's been involved in that. Sherry actually went over to Tokyo this year with Triumph. So she went through their whole experience, and she came back to us immediately and said, I've gone on a lot of these tours. Nobody does it better.
Really?
Sherry tells it like it is. And we're finding that out in the organization process. But
great.
Honestly, they may have the details of that, but I don't know it. And that's above my pay grade right now.
You shouldn't focus on the party before you have completed the race. But I have actually been looking on the website, and their bling is almost like a gold medal, almost an Olympic gold medal is what it looks like to me, Jeff. Is that right? You've
really
had
nice,
it.
Yes, it is really nice. Yes.
Yeah. And then do you also get a lay at the finish? I don't know. Or is it would be cool there if you had that, and they do have photography along the course, so you can capture, if you're listening to Jeff Galloway at that mile 23 and you're listening to one of the stories in between the quarter mile shuffle runs, it sounds like an amazing time for any runner or run walker. You say you're going to celebrate 8 decades with this.
Yes. Okay, what that means is that I ran my first marathon as a teenager and have run more than one marathon in each successive decade, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and now I will have at least one in the 80s to qualify.
And so in those 8 decades of running one or more marathon in each decade of your life, what has running taught you about life? What's the big takeaway for you?
It's continuing to stay in the game, to keep the feet moving, to keep yourself moving. The whole aspect of moving is what enabled our species to survive, because by continuously moving for thousands and thousands of miles a year, our ancestors found food when others who didn't move as much starved to death. Leading cause of death among our species has been starvation the whole time. And the ones that kept moving found food and stayed alive. But more than that, and here's the most exciting part about running. It is believed by the anthropologists and the evolutionary biologists that study ancient man. It is believed that our human brains developed, they were sparked to develop, and then they developed due to forward motion. Because it is well known that to this day, once you start moving your feet in walking, you turn on your human brain. Because our ancestors had to solve a whole lot of problems on every one of these treks to find food. And the human brain is what really enabled our species to rise above all of the challenges and then to set strategies that would keep them away from those challenges. And to this day, it's also been shown that when we run, we elevate all of those benefits in the brain to a higher level, a much higher level. Grow more brain cells, activate the parts of the brain that give us a better attitude, more energy, the ability to recover faster, and the ability to overcome challenges.
Yeah.
Those are circuits in the brain that are turned on to the highest level when running. And if you're out there you have to be out there for 30 minutes. That's what the scientists are saying. But if you are, then any amount of running that you do regularly during those 30 minutes is going to turn on those circuits.
It's going to turn on those circuits that can help you deal with challenges in life, that can help you feel good as you celebrate those wins as well. And when you look back on your life, what's one of the biggest challenges that you overcome? And what's one of the biggest wins that you just look back on and say, yeah, that's one that really mattered and meant a great deal to me?
There were a number of areas of my life, and there weren't many that were extremely problematic for me, that I was under tremendous stress. I just didn't seem to have any way out of the stress, and it was debilitating mentally to go through that. And running was always the antidote to that. The stress did not go away because when I came back to it, I had all of this stuff hanging on me. But the run allowed my brain to cope with it. And not only during the run, but after the run. And it was a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
For example, when I was in Vietnam, I had a senior officer who was on me every few hours, finding things that I did wrong, the paperwork I would send in over and over again. And he would sometimes spend over half an hour just going over one minutiae point that I missed and so forth. And it was so amazingly debilitating mentally, actually the worst time. But running was that time that I could really release all that. Now, that said, most of my time in the first 18 months was when we were at sea. And my ship was not a ship that allowed for any running because we had supplies and equipment all over the place. I didn't have the release that I really wanted to. But the fact is that it showed me that when I had the chance, I was going to be able to release this stuff and be able to go on. Now, surprisingly, all of these challenges that my senior officer gave me were designed for a purpose. He actually recommended me and was what caused me to get the second in command of my second ship. In other words, he knew that in that position, I would be undergoing high stresses from the commanding officer of my new ship. but he had such faith in me that he was going to hammer me and see how I would respond to that before he gave me the recommendation. And boy, did he hammer me. The fact is that not all challenges have a resolution like that. And I realize that, but we do have a way of coping. And running is at the very least that. And of course, so much more.
Now, you have talked about so many wonderful things, and I'm just doing this interview makes me want to get out there and get some running done. If the people in the Runcation Nation want to find out more and connect with you, how can they?
We have an app, and it's a good one. It has a free download, free run, walk, run timer. It's on the App Store. So just go to the App Store, Jeff Galloway Run, Walk, Run. It has the JG logo.
Yeah.
Just look for JG. That's the logo icon there. And also, we have a whole lot of stuff at jeffgalloway.com. We are starting to transfer a lot of the stuff to the app because it's distracting for people to get referred from the app over to somewhere else. The app and our Jeff Galloway hub is getting more and more comprehensive to be able to handle that. So you can also look at the hub too.
We will link to that in the show notes. And that's the logo.
That's the JG logo right there.
That's the logo.
Weston came up with that.
Oh, that's fantastic. So we will link to that so that people can find you. And in these next few months, you still have, let's see, there are a couple of Disney races, the Halloween half, I think, out there in California, right?
Yes.
And the Wine and Dine ahead of your amazing week in Honolulu.
Absolutely.
So I imagine that you're going to be a busy man with those events.
I am, but those events are just so wonderful. You talk about people overcoming challenges. That's what I hear most in the line of people, several thousand throughout the weekend, every one of the Disney events. And they're telling me how they just never thought they could run it all. And then they hit this challenge in their life.
Yeah.
And somehow they got started, various reasons, and what it's done for them. And the amazing things that running can help you do and connect up. We have these strengths inside of us. All of us do. But we very seldom connect up with things that can unleash them. And running does that.
Running, it does. It unleashes so much. We just very recently, we talked to Bart Yasso on the show about his new book. And he says the organization, the things that he writes about in his book about top runs that people should do all across the world. He says the best ideas came after a run.
Yep.
Yeah. So first of all, we want to say thank you so much for being a friend of our show and coming on the show, taking time. Each time we ask you, you've been so generous with your time, so generous with your stories, motivation, inspiration. We can't thank you enough. And
the sheer wealth of knowledge that you bring
is amazing.
As I'm in it to help the people out there who want to improve the quality of their lives, and you folks are on that forward push to do that. And I want to support you any way I can.
You've been like a father to us and a friend, and you've prepared us for some of the toughest events we've had in life and in running. And we are so lucky to know you, and we cannot wait to accomplish, explore, and indulge with you really soon. Thank you, Jeff, and happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Jeff.
Thank you. I will, of course, always look forward to the opportunity to keep what you're doing going and moving to the next level. So don't hesitate.
Thank you. Yay.
All right. We are done. We got this.
That's a wrap. So thank you for joining us on your long run, your commute to work, around the house, wherever you are. I'm your host, Amy.
And I'm your co-host, Dana.
Stay safe and well, and we will accomplish, explore, and indulge with you really soon. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Run, Eat, Drink podcast. We're having another great year thanks to your support. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We're at Run, Eat, Drink Podcast. And on Twitter, we're Run, Eat, Drink Pod. You can also give us a call at 941-677-2733 or send us an email at info@runeatdrink.net. Visit our website at runeatdrink.net and click on the subscribe link so you don't miss a minute. Find out how you can support the show at patreon.com/runeatdrinkpodcast. Accomplish, explore, and indulge right along with us. We'll talk to you next time.